Evening, everyone. I hope you're all good this evening. Great to see you all here. We've got about 10 people on tonight. It's going to be quite a small sort of webinar because we're doing this as a soft start. We're going to kind of do an introduction, open the room up for some questions at the end and just kind of go through this in detail. So as everybody has a good opportunity to get answers to questions they're looking for and things like that. So I'm just going to go through a couple of not necessarily rules, but just how this works. There is a question box sort of in your right-hand side when you look at the actual GoToWebinar control panel. For the moment, everybody's going to be just muted just to kind of keep the room quite sort of nice and tidy. And then what we're going to do, we're going to open up the webinar for questions at the end, and we'll do our best to sort of get you guys on. You can ask and talk to us sort of directly. But if you do have anything when it kind of comes to you, just pop it in the chat. I'm just going to send a message out to everyone. I just said hi guys to you all. If you can just take a look at that and see whether or not you've received that. And yeah, I'm going to sort of dive into a really quick presentation. You should all be able to see what we've got on the screen. There's a good should be a good view of that. And we've got, I think, Christina on. We've got Conrad. Hi, Conrad. How are you? No audio yet from Ryan. Okay. Let me take a look. Conrad, you can hear us, can you? And we've got Frederico. We've got Jamie. We've got Matt. Hi, Matt. How you doing? Robbie. And you, Ryan. What I can see is, Ryan, I don't think you're connected to audio. So you've got two options. You can connect with your computer or you can dial in. I'm just going to try and get the dial-in details. Right, guys, I'm sorry, I just wanted to get the details for Ryan. Ryan, I'm going to pop the call-in details into the chat really quickly, and then we'll get cracking. So if you just bear me 2 seconds, and I will pull this up. Just a quick introduction, I've got Wyatt here with me, and I've got Henry as well. Wyatt's sort of the co-founder, and Henry's coming on board to help out with product. They're here this evening to kind of ask any questions. I'll let them say hi while I'm doing this.
You can go for it, mate.
Hey, what's up, guys? As Brendan said, I'm helping to prioritize the roadmap, product roadmap, and just generally help build the product.
That's awesome.
Hey, you guys might have seen me on the website. I'm Wyatt. I'm co-founding this whole thing right here. I'm leading our development efforts right now.
That's awesome. And yeah, what got you guys into blockchain while I just send Ryan these details?
Curious chain of events. For me, just met some friends and kind of felt like this would be a great application of the stuff that I really like to work on. And lo and behold, we built this beautiful thing that you guys are so interested in right now. So can't wait to share that with you.
Yeah, I could relate to the curious chain of events. Actually, one of the first projects I worked on was an idea similar to this to help creatives assetize their content and monetize more effectively. It was a long time ago, and one of the major challenges we ran into was accepting micropayments. So that's how I got into cryptocurrencies, and just been meeting more and more people, who are into it, and just kind of diving deeper in, and met Brendan and Wyatt, and everything kind of came together in terms of aligned passion.
Cool, that's awesome. And I think, Ryan, it looks like you've managed to connect as well. I can see that that's got the audio on your side sorted. That's great. And for me, I mean, I got into crypto about sort of 4 or 5 years ago, end of 2013. I actually was mining one of the first or a couple of first blocks of Dogecoin at the time, and got into a whole load of different things, like worked on the ICO for actually Ethereum itself, doing some promotion, all the way through to selling mining hardware, like some of the Bitmain equipment into Europe. And I've really kind of stuck with blockchain since, and really kind of, glad that we're now bringing this to you guys. So I'm going to kind of start going through this. I think most of you have looked at the white paper and business plan, and I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because, again, I'd like to make sure that we kind of give you guys time to ask questions. Okay, so up on the screen you see Rakugo, and we're calling ourselves like the publishing and content assetization platform, and all the other details are on there right now. So I'm just going to forward onto our next slide. Give me just 2 seconds. Okay, so what is Rakugo? So Rakugo is can be summed up as the fact that it's a publishing and, in a way, royalty management platform. We're building it so as it rewards content owners, and those content owners will get rewarded with 2 fundamental things like revenue and exposure to their content. We kind of came up with this concept and realized that there was a lot of people writing content and publishing and blogging, and that if you pursued that hard enough, you could do extremely well and you could build a good business for oneself. But the actual pathway to onboarding onto that is actually quite challenging and tough. Along with that, there's not very good rights management. Content is syndicated, stolen, plagiarized, and used all over, which actually dilutes the impact of your contribution because it's showing up in 5, 6, 7 places. Google is penalizing that, and you're not the one who's getting the credit for that effectively. And we think there's a huge market for crowdsourced news content, and this is something that likes of BuzzFeed, all of the kind of major digital and traditional publications are struggling to harness how to actually kind of utilize the crowd. I mean, as an example, BuzzFeed has 700 staff editors, and they struggle to scale as a result. So we're looking at a better solution that enables people to be empowered and actually kind of create content whereby they get rewarded for its impact. And we'd like to be able to kind of secure that content, allow people to publish, and then allow people to monetize. So if you've got your one blog out and there's revenue coming through for that blog being on the internet, like, we feel that you should be the one that gets the reward for that. You should be the one that actually allows other people to ask you permission to use that and or transfer those rights. So we want to kind of become this de facto standard. So that's sort of what we stand for. We're looking to bring rights back to creatives and allow just anyone to have that opportunity to start creating sort of independence and a brand and a presence and an ability to publish your work online in a very kind of secure and good way. Do you guys want to think that?
I think Brendan really summed that up. But all things considered, if you are a person who produces content like a blogger, one, you're essentially just giving them all the rights to your work, and you don't have the ability to. You don't own it, and there's like a really big issue with copyright, with also like revenue or royalty distribution. To people who create, artistic or whatever works. We were able to roll all of those sort of solutions to those problems into one platform, which is Rakugo. So yeah, we're really excited to bring that to you.
Cool. All right, guys, I'll go on to the next slide as well. And again, like, this kind of goes into a bit more depth. We've already kind of covered this. A lot of the pain in the community, like, you go onto Medium, there's actually quite active groups of individuals that are voices for this movement. So people that kind of feel the pain. And I think, Ryan, you sort of you mentioned this, I think, in something you wrote online, which is really interesting, is that a lot of content that's put out either doesn't get exposure, or you, like I said, you give it away. Like, go onto Lad Bible, BuzzFeed, and you upload your content, you have to hand over the rights to your content. You may get something for it if it does an impossible number of things in terms of impact, but you're funding their business, basically. So we solved this problem. We're creating a trusted and secure platform to allow people to secure, publish, and manage those pieces of work, those digital assets. And I think you'll be able to sort of see where we're going with this as you kind of go through this to understand a little bit more about how powerful that concept is. So I'm going to go on to the next slide. What is up for grabs? So right now, the global digital advertising market is around 200 billion, set to grow to 250 million over the next 2 years. A lot of that coming from mobile. And North American ad spend is going to be about 113 billion, of which Facebook probably owns about 60 billion of that, Google about 20, and that's right now. So there's huge growth here, and you know, in terms of digital online publishing, it's about quality, volume, and consistency. It's about the product, and at the end of the day, like the way we're looking at this thing is the product is the quality of writer. The product is us being able to put content in the right place at the right time, protect it, and mean that we are that source of truth, and we can do that on blockchain. We're projecting that from 2018 through till 2021, we're going to grow to achieve, start off at a 0.01% market share and grow into a 0.2% market share of this kind of ad revenue market. That's going to be our first step into monetizing. We feel that's a very realistic sort of objective. And we're looking to partner with other companies like Hearst Publishing to enable this kind of platform to go beyond a single sort of platform and branch out into an enterprise product where we can actually help these more established publications transform themselves like in a digital way, which they're all trying to do. They're all struggling to do this. Like they don't know how to harness the crowd effectively. Rakugo, right, we're building it on Ethereum blockchain. Why are we doing that? 3 really key things here. Immutability. As we all know, information when it's mined and stored on a block in a smart contract or on Bitcoin or wherever that might be is immutable, like it's secured by consensus. And this record shows ownership, so we can use this to secure copyright. We can actually store metadata on the chain, and that can be read, that can be transferred, and that's actually stored. So we're going to go through a few use cases at the end where we can explain like how that's powerful. And then we're looking at this concept, which is like this assetization concept. And that is something that if you look at, and I'll have Wyatt speak about this a little bit more, something like Rare Pepe, which is as niche and as weird as it is, has taken this concept of putting like an issuance on a digital asset, which makes it an asset, and it makes it rare. And the same can be applied to the way that we're looking at content. You know, we want each contribution to be unique and individual. And that gives it inherently more value. You want to speak to that at all?
100%. So a lot of you, I mean, so Rare Pepe is sort of like it's worth Googling if you haven't checked it out. I'm assuming there's probably a couple of you guys out there currently watching who might have heard about this. But in essence, it's a way for one to notarize an issuance, if you will, of a meme. So there's definitely like a silly background behind it, but all things considered, it actually is a very powerful concept. If any of you guys have looked at like a rare piece of art before, you might have noticed there's like a fraction at the bottom right that says like, you know, 1 out of 50. This is what we refer to as an issuance. It's essentially one painting is 1/50th of the total content that was created by this idea. And in that vein, I mean, what is the difference between, for instance, like one, you know, like a Harry Potter book or something? You know, sure, there's like 100 million of them, and you're actually just trying to produce the content. You know, try to get that content out. You know what I mean? So an actual like book, the piece of paper, isn't really worth very much. But if you then think about, okay, you know, what if I try to split up the total worth of Harry Potter into like 1/50th? I mean, you basically created a share of which one who owns that share, that token, and in our case, someone is owed a royalty. And in that same regard, that's how people, you know, how people who own a percentage of their rights and go through traditional like, publishing avenue actually get their royalties that they're owed. Now, what we've done is we've created a platform which issues tokens that represent these issuances for any type of content. And what's really powerful about that is, one, you know, these issuances are immutable, so nobody can possibly come and steal your issuance. It's something that's notarized, you know, on a blockchain to infinity and beyond. I don't know what those promises, but just forever. And you know, nobody can hack that. And then number two, you know, it's very possible for someone who actually produces content to get kind of, I don't know, screwed over by their publisher and to not really get the rights that they're owed. Well, we've created this system where if you were trying to blog through us, at least in our V1, you will be generating ad revenue, and that ad revenue will then be dispersed through a pseudo escrow account, in this case actually a smart contract, where the owner of a token can then redeem a token, or rather show that they have proof of ownership of this token, and then receive their due royalties. So in this sense, people who actually produce content and the person who actually provides them the royalties are I guess the transaction is done sort of like in a handoff where nobody can really, affect the other person. So whether you're an investor, someone who wants to like help, crowdsource some type of like, project, or you're someone who's actually just trying to get revenue royalties from, our blogging platform, we provide a technology that allows you to make sure that the money goes where it's meant to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much that's the idea of it. I'm wondering if there's something I'm leaving out, but bottom line is, I think at least a couple of you I know are like professional bloggers out there. If you are going through like AdSense or something, you know that you are essentially just sort of, if you're yourself going through AdSense, you are subject to whatever they want to do. In the sense of we aren't trying to solve the advertising problem or the monetization problem, but if you do, are able to set that up, we are going to make sure that parties involved get their fair share, and that also, someone can't take credit for your work because it's been notarized on the blockchain. One thing that I didn't touch upon, which I think I should now as well, is that there's a concept called like a poor man's copyright, where if you were, for instance, to like write a manuscript and then mail it to yourself, effectively notarizing that this thing exists by going through the postal service and being stamped, that'll essentially not necessarily win you a case, but definitely like pretty much like win you a case. Somebody tries to steal your stuff. We've done the exact same thing by coming up with this concept of a digital fingerprint. Essentially, we just take think about it in the most basic case. We take your article, we compress it, and we store a JSON object of you, the owner, the compressed content, and some other metadata on a smart contract. That contract being the one that notarizes or creates the tokens that are the issuances of your work. Quite literally, you have a stamp of your stuff on a blockchain that is a lot more foolproof than just mailing a manuscript to yourself. And there are other companies trying to do this right now that do not have everything tied up together like we do.
Yeah.
So we are the one-stop shop for the actual content creator, not the publishing house, not someone who's trying to create, or do some like legal tech with copyright. We are out here to protect the small-time blogger, because we feel like that's where the real power is in the publishing industry. And by empowering people who create content, we're going to completely disrupt the billion, trillion-dollar industry and allow people who want to blog for a living to do what they were meant to do to begin with. So,
yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah, and that kind of sums up really nicely. And looking at the three things you've got up here, the rights management, that all kind of comes into it because it allows you to collaborate on projects where you have this issuance. And for example, if you were to write a book and go to Thailand to kind of do that experience, you would be able to have a set of issuances against that book that would allow you to, let's say, co-fund that project, bring in additional participants, and this royalty kind of management is really powerful. It goes beyond just writing on a blog. It goes into music, video, anything where there's collaborative teams, where this needs to be managed, in an automated and very transparent way. This process we've developed allows people to do that. Cool. I'm going to keep going through. Just quickly, this is the team. Led by experience, so it's myself. Michael Salmon, who's in Berlin, he's not actually on this call today. You'll see him probably at a later webinar coming up. And I think you've probably seen all this on the website. We do have lots of other people involved, some really deep industry experts down in LA, and a really talented team, too many to cover on here. So do make sure that you kind of go into the website and look at the team. I think most of you here have done, but this has been made public as we're recording afterwards. So anyone watching this after the fact, do go and check that out and dig into that. And obviously, you see the three of us that are in here now on here. Right, I just want to kind of go through the three components of Rakugo, go through the token structure, and then we're going to open up to questions. So I'm going to keep this pretty quick. There are three parts of Rakugo as we see it. There is Rakugo, which is like the content management part. This is something that we're really focused on, creating a bridge for the end user. We have a database of about 20,000 bloggers and artists that we're going to be onboarding for our alpha, looking at doing 5,000 of those in 2017. And what we're looking at doing is really creating a very friendly UI, UX experience for these people, so they probably don't interact very much with the crypto aspect of this. They're going to be exposed to a familiar platform they're used to using, and the cryptographic part of this and the cryptocurrency part is going to be an intrinsic benefit of using the platform. And through that benefit, they're going to realize what the power of blockchain is. At least we think so. We are not going to be looking to get them to be power users. We're going to want them to feel comfortable with the technology and really understand why this is beneficial in their life. And that's why we're building this. We're building this because this is like a very nice on-ramp for a lot of people to really experience how this can be beneficial. And as you can see, people can like tokenize content. You can sell subscriptions for your private blog, for example. You can crowdfund projects. You can distribute royalties. And then you can do this kind of continuous copyright enforcement. And the copyright enforcement is something that's going to take us a while to build. We're actually working with third parties to bring that to the platform. We don't want to build that because it's already quite well proven with sort of anti-plagiarism APIs and lots of crawlers out there. So we're going to focus on what we're good at, and we're going to bring partnerships in to cover that sort of stuff. So I think quite a few wanted to know sort of how it was.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to reiterate, so the concept of actually like creating like a fingerprint or some representation on the blockchain, that's something we're definitely going to own. So if any of you guys are familiar with, making your own altcoin or something, just like with the Solidity tutorial, it's going to be like that. Like we're basically going to make one of those for each one of your pieces of content. However, we're going to tie in other third-party services and APIs to actually go and sort of, I don't know what the phrase would actually be, but basically look for people who are plagiarizing your work online. Yeah. I don't know what the big hitters are, but we're in talks with a couple of companies. And we're basically going to use that notarized representation of your work on Ethereum to tie into that third-party service. It's going to be just a part of the total platform itself. When you think about the platform, think about it as, I don't want to go and say we're like copying something else, but there are very familiar, similar platforms out there for people to blog that we are going to be very similar to. Only on top of it, we are going to actually like offer these other services using blockchain tech.
Yeah, that's good.
I want to emphasize the point Brendan made about the user experience. I think the goal is for us to solve a problem and not necessarily, blockchain is just a tool for that.
Right.
That's all in the back end, and for the end user, it should just be a seamless, easy to use, beautiful experience.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and then we're looking at developing APIs as we go forward to sort of accommodate more of the enterprise product and anyone that wants to operate more as a power user within sort of the actual contract code itself from an external source. So that's something we've got on the roadmap. We'll cover that a little bit in a second, and you can read that all in the business plan. Part two is Kenzo, which is our kind of copyright management. This is where Wyatt talks about the digital fingerprint and creates an useful publicly available record which can be read, can't be rewritten. You own that, you can transfer it, and you can freely trade that content as you like, as you would any other digital asset or a meme like Rare Pepe and things like this.
Exactly. From a technical spec, it's essentially, I think we've mentioned this before, I'm not sure if you use this actual like phrase or keyword, but we're basically offering code as a service. We're giving you the ability to like tokenize or to create a token on the Ethereum blockchain without really having to actually know how to write any code, let alone having like a computer science degree to be able to hack through these docs. So in essence, Kenzo is a service that it has its own like separate architecture that I've come up with for security and also like latency issues and throughput. But bottom line is it's essentially a series of different contracts that we've written where we can swap out parameters and also create this digital fingerprint idea. So you send in your information, we then create that JSON object, put that on a token, depending on the type of token that you want to actually create. We then put that on, onto a node, and we're using Parity, and then that gets loaded up to the chain, and there you go, you got your tokens. So yeah,
fantastic.
I think the really exciting part about this for me is the ability to trade art as an asset.
100%.
The ability to speculate basically on a piece of art. The fundamentals of the token is going to be based on art. So if you're a connoisseur of writing or music, this is a chance to actually invest in it. It's kind of like a new way of being a patron of the arts. I think that's really exciting for me as someone with an investment mind.
Yeah, absolutely. This is yeah, and it's really good. And part of the reason why we want to enforce this copyright is to kind of like develop this notion of rareness, where Rare Pepe are looking at it in terms of a meme. We're looking at it in terms of contributed creative work you know, by not only securing it and copywriting it and then having this enforcement, you are proving that those pieces that you produced are the most valuable. They're going to have the most impact. People are going to come to that. That's going to be at the top of the search rankings. And that's what we're really focused on, is like making sure that the end user is empowered with these tools that we can bring using blockchain.
Yeah.
So the final bit is, I'm going to have Wyatt talk about this a little bit as well, is it's called Shogun. It's in our naming theme. We're called Rakugo because Rakugo is a Japanese art of storytelling on a stage, and we feel like we're creating a stage for people to tell their stories and to tell these creative stories and do it in a way where they own that. So that's part of how we've come up with the name. A few people say that our logo is like EOS. I can see that. It's like a lot of logos. We're really into like the whole sacred geometry thing, and we developed this and it came out at the same time. So feel free. Yeah, feel free to comment on that. But it was intentional at the time to have this kind of geometric feel to this, just because of how I wanted to kind of build this. So Shogun is a kind of advanced machine learning model that we're developing, and the reason is because we feel there is, when you look at the amount of content that's published, and you can read this in the business plan, there is a significant amount of content that gets published and not read, not viewed, it doesn't have impact, right? Now you producing content want that to have impact. As part of the tool, and this is like long-term development here, I want to make that clear, you'll see it on the roadmap, is creating a feedback mechanism where a user will be able to understand like what is trending in the market right now and how they can kind of publish into that flow. So imagine a river running. That's the world. That's the content that's being published right now. And we're sort of trying to get into that river. Now we have to understand the speed it's going, the nature of it, and all these other kind of attributes to get on board. And we have to have a boat. Now, by matching the outside with the inside, which Wyatt will talk about in a moment, we're going to create that ability for you to kind of board those trends and maximize the relevance of your content. And in doing that, you maximize the impact and the revenue that's available. So yeah, Wyatt, come on.
Well, a little backstory. So Shogun is actually an application of a type of math that I'm really just into, like organically, and it sort of ties into a type of information theory that I feel like really, how would I say, it applies to streams of data and attributes of the data that are passing through those streams. Now, what does that mean? The metaphor that Brendan used about like a stream or a river is actually an excellent one. What I meant is actually streams of content. Just like, what are people, tweeting on Twitter? That right there can be abstracted as a stream. Or at least it's what we call that in like the big data space. So in essence, some really smart people realized or applied something called Kullback-Leibler divergence, which who cares what that means? It's essentially a metric that means how can one stream of data influence another stream of data? And they came up with a really great scheme, or basically an application of a couple of different other metrics, which allow us to sort of identify the impact of one stream of data on another one. More so than just what KL divergence does, it's actually like they're able to use some NLP tools to extract like attributes, or in this case topics, that are inherent or present in news articles, and find a way to basically imprint new topics, or also basically modify like a stream that we own in order to be more like a stream that currently exists. So the real world application here is this. If you're a blogger and you want your stuff to actually be, seen by individuals, you want it to be, to trend, you want to make sure that you become an influencer, you want to sort of be on the hot button with what everybody's talking about. What we're going to be doing is building a data processing engine which streams all the content that's coming out of Twitter, major news sources, and also just like SEO trends, and we basically offer you suggestions to your work in order to trend higher on major search engines. Not only that, once we have that basic infrastructure in place, and we learn how our basic or our power users work, what their type of the people who read their articles are like, how they retweet, stuff like that, we have like a bit more foothold in the market. We'll actually be able to drive trends based upon what you guys are going to be writing and what's currently happening in the news. So for instance, You ever noticed how certain phrases, like, I don't know, like, you know, the Trump thing with Trumpgate or something that comes out, right? You notice that these different terms of phrases will get, you know, written by like New York Times, and then they get picked up by other, you know, syndicated by other places. It's not that they actually like took, you know, the content, they just use a certain turn of phrase. And all of a sudden, the coiner of that phrase is, you know, definitely someone who influenced major trends. We found out a mathematical way to actually give you that power. All we need is time and just the training data to build it. So Kenzo allows us to actually get people on a platform, notarize their stuff, and then Shogun is going to be how we take our users and give them a power that, you know, an excellent editor would have. You know, I mean, that's what happens if you write for New York Times. You have someone say, okay, this is hot. You need to write your thing and make it differently. We're going to put this on page 2 and make sure this gets seen. We found a way that we can skip that using machine learning.
Yeah.
So
exactly, and then it kind of doubles up. You can then also publish within this trend as well, and it's all to maximize impact and revenue for you know, for end users. Cool, fantastic. Matt, I've noticed you've got a question about GitHub. I will definitely come to that at the end. At the moment, everything's private, but we're going to be releasing some of it as we go along. I have sort of Wyatt mentioned that, and we're going to be releasing more information over the next couple of weeks. Just quickly, these are our milestones. I'm going to keep it very high level. Right now we're in the ICO phase. At the moment we've been working with a law firm in DC, a really big, very reputable one, about how we structure this. Given all the SEC implications and things like that, we're actually formed as a company in the UK, which has favourable for us regulation on the way we're structuring the sale. We're issuing royalties for token holders. We're not issuing profits. It's not like an equity token. The first stage, the reason why we call it a seed token is because you're helping us get our seed round, and you're going to benefit from the revenue that we're going to drive. And revenue is going to happen before profit. So those early investors that are coming in, we feel should be rewarded. And a business like this generates revenue quickly. Like, it's a very, very rapid revenue generating company. Done this quite a few times before on small scales, big scales, but the traction you can gain by publishing is rather quick. So right now we're in ICO phase, June to September, and then we go into our development phase. And like I said, I'm not going to get into this now. I'm going to skip across this, and please dive in and look at it and ask us any questions on Slack and Telegram. These just quickly to give you some idea of where we're projecting our sort of figures to go. These are all very clearly outlined in our business plan. We've done some economics behind sort of valuations of these tokens moving forward. We spent 2 months working on these figures. If anyone does want to see the spreadsheets, I will probably happily share them. They're deep, and we took a lot of advice from people coming up with our numbers, and would love to be challenged on them. So if you have any different views, opinions, like, the way we make this better is by having the community feedback to us, and we want to have that. Like, that's the whole point of this. So you can see here our financial projections, very soft start in 2017, you know, burning to kind of build the team and get stuff moving. In 2018, we're going to start publishing and monetizing more in a traditional sense, and bringing the crypto and the kind of blockchain aspect in underneath it, and then scaling through 2019, 2020, and 21 out to 5 years. And there's going to be a mix of scaling into our own kind of audience with our active user base and readership, but also partnering with, we've been in talks with some big publishers about doing some R&D work with those, and we're finalizing some deals that we can't announce anything. Hopefully going to have that in about a month's time, and are going to be developing some of these products for other publishers. And we don't necessarily want to be going against those other publishers. We want to be providing a platform that allows them to tap into the user base, to tap into this product, which is this hive of creative people. We then abstract the data, do some EBITDA calculations, and we look at kind of revenue multiples, all explained in the business plan. That's how we get our token valuations on the right. So as people coming in as investors, you should have a clear idea of how we're defining our value, how you are going to see royalty payments, how are you going to see a return on investment, how should this investment perform. So we're trying to be as transparent as we can, and we're going to maintain this one when we get up and running publicly on a quarterly basis, and that will be shared with everyone, and we're going to be very transparent. Not many startups go out like this with this much transparency. This is what the ICO market is like. So we're vulnerable by giving away information, but we're also being transparent to make sure that everyone knows what we're doing.
I mean, yeah, we're IPOing. Like, we don't have VCs. We're not playing around.
Cool.
Okay.
And then this is our sort of seed token distribution. Again, this is sort of outlined in the business plan, and we're paying royalty payments quarterly to token holders. These tokens that you get in the first round are convertible in the future to a profit-sharing token, and that is if one exists. Right now, we don't feel like there's a regulatory framework for us to do that, so we're not doing that. We're looking at it from a royalty perspective, and again, we're being very, very prudent and cautious about this. And holders of these seed tokens will get a discount if we ever do issue like an equity type token. But right now, the market's not ready for it, we don't feel, and we want to have longevity, and by doing it in this structure, we will have. On the right-hand side of your screen, you'll see there is sort of token classes. Seed tokens sold are vested at 100% on issuance. Community tokens are founder and options tokens, which are for people involved in the business, are going to vest over 2 years. So very clear, traditional, more sort of like VC or startup vesting structure, and that is to protect investors and to make sure that we're in it for the long haul, and we are. So that's that reasoning. Final thing, pre-sale is running right now. We launched it softly last week. We tend to do this. We tend to bring things out slowly, and you'll notice that about our style. We're a rolling thunder kind of company. And there's a 5,000 ETH cap on the pre-sale. There's no minimum. Guarantees your place in the ICO. We don't want any of these kind of, mass entrances over 3 minutes. We want this to be fair and transparent. We want to give like as many people as possible the chance to get in on this. And that's why we're structuring it this way. And then the main sale starts on the 19th, and that's running for a month. And that is basically it. I'm now going to open up to any questions that anyone has. So actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to try it because there's a small number of us. I'm going to try and like make your microphones live so that you can actually ask. And I'm going to start with you, Matt. I'm going to try and unmute you. There we go.
All right.
Hey,
can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
So is the technology applicable to all kinds of media? I mean, we've talked mostly, I guess, about blogs, but could you apply the same thing to any digital asset? Just sub it in there?
100%. That's the main idea. We started out, I want to start out using blogs because the way that we can generate like a revenue stream or royalty stream using like ad tech, it was just very conducive to the technology, like just the tokenization thing itself. And also, we just know that there's a lot of people who actually are in the blogger space who really need this. But yeah, we're trying to branch out and work with all different types of media, video, and pretty much anything you'd want to crowdsource or try to own a share of.
Yeah.
What were you specifically thinking about, Matt?
I mean, one of the coolest things I've thought about amidst tokenizing everything is things become really universal in terms of the interface. So, like, it seems like it very easily could be extended to just support any sort of tokenized asset. So
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
Music definitely comes to mind just because I think music is fucked up and I would enjoy it more if it was better.
I 100% agree with you.
I do too.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from, yeah.
Yeah, and you'll see there's a lot of people sort of looking to solve this music problem, and we feel like we have the opportunity, I think, to pivot into that with a reliable product. And I think by proving it out in this environment may give us the opportunity to scale into that. But we're taking a sort of more cautious approach rather than going in there too bullish. And it's a one-shot industry, music.
Yeah.
From a product
perspective, we don't want to try to.
It's an area I'll continue to look at. You guys.
Sorry, Matt. Can you say again?
I was saying it's an area I'll continue to look at. But yeah, yeah. I don't know if anyone else has any other questions.
I'm going to see. Ryan, do you have any questions, mate? I'm just going to put you back onto mute, Matt. Anyone else? I'm just give everyone kind of an opportunity to sort of say hi. Ryan, I'm going to unmute you, sir. I know you've done a blog on us, which is very much.
Guys, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can, Ryan.
Hey, great to meet you, Ryan. Thanks for the blog.
Nice, guys. I'm just curious, are there plans to split the different media types via separate portals? So say you have a portal for, you know, stock photography and then you break it up, you could have a digital, you know, digital writing content ebook portal.
Yeah.
The reason I ask this is there's a couple. There is one specific use case, Inverto it's called, and the way they do it, and they've been very successful, is they've broken it up. For example, their stock photography site is called PhotoJune, and they have a website template portal, and they have actually been very successful, and it sort of helps the customers because it instead of having to trawl through a mishmash of separate media, it's all, you know, collectively together.
Yeah, I think you raise a really good point. Henry, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so relating back to the previous question, the reason to focus on one thing is really just for that, to focus. If you try to start solving too many problems at once, you're going to have less of a chance of success. And because each media type does have its own considerations in the product, we want to really kill it with written content. And then once we do that, prove it, we'll, you know, build out other pieces of content. But I agree, or support other types of content. Yeah. But I agree that having it separated and a very clear user flow and experience to find what you're looking for would be advantageous.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's also in a way why with regards to sort of Matt's previous question about do we think we want to go and support other technologies, we do feel that the opportunity for us is to really nail the niche with written blog content. I think imagery will come into that to an extent in terms of like the way that the meme economy is developing, and I'd love to see that there be users doing that on our platform. But the stock photography side of things that you mentioned is huge, right? It really is huge, and I think that would be something that is logical for us to move into. Publicly, we're not putting that on the roadmap just yet, but I fully expect that to be where we go.
Sounds good. Just one more question. Is there plans for, say, distribution partners to sort of expand your
reach?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are. And again, we have some good contacts within the industry in LA. Luckily, we're lucky being in San Francisco and having a couple of people that work both for a big media agency and Red Bull Entertainment, and we've got some very kind of good links into BuzzFeed as well. So we are going to be looking at, like I said, we're not necessarily here to compete. We are here to provide a really great experience for the end user to put their content into the right place, and effectively building that product gives us a little bit more leverage when it comes to having people be able to negotiate their rights with these bigger companies. So we're actively working on those relationships. We have good people in the industry. You'll see their profiles on the website that are making those. I'm trying not to say too much because some of these things are very kind of tacit at the moment.
Yeah.
That are going to be working at sort of developing that. Yes.
For what it's worth, I mean, we're definitely focused on the actual user, but at the same time, we have a lot of traction and a lot from some major players in the publishing industry. So all things considered, I think they're pretty happy on both ends.
Yeah. Because here's the thing as well, which is interesting. I've had recent conversations with executives of some big publishing houses, and their biggest pain point right now is that they can't quite understand how they harness the crowd and do that in a good way. They can't continue to add to that 700 editor base that BuzzFeed has, and people become quite people will go from platform to platform. By us building those relationships, we want to be a conduit that allows that content to go out, but you retain the ownership.
Sounds good.
Yeah, cool. That's absolutely great. Thanks,
guys.
What's that, mate?
Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
Right, I'm gonna get Conrad. Do you want to ask some questions? There you go. Let's give you a chance to ask some questions, mate. How you doing, Conrad? Are we here? Might be muted.
Oh, we muted. Okay. Well, hey, Conrad. Anyway.
Christina, I've got you unmuted if you wanted to ask any questions. No, that's all right. I'm going to jump onto Federico. How you doing, Federico? Can you hear us? Do you want to ask any questions? Oh, Conrad's having mic issues. Yeah, no worries, mate. That's fine.
We can take questions also for the chat as well. So if you guys want to drop a line, yeah.
And then we've got Robbie on here. I think everyone's muted on their side. We've got Robbie. How's it going, Robbie? Do you have any questions? Perfect. Okay, cool. Well, guys, just one last thing. I'm going to sign off so as you can all kind of have your evenings. We've got another webinar on Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific. We're going to be doing a similar kind of overview, and it'll be a larger event than what this one is. So it's been nice having such a small group of people, really good to kind of get to know you. We're going to be putting this actually onto the site, so there'll be a recording made available. You guys can distribute it and share it, and the pre-sale is open now. We're doing what I think is a pretty good discount structure for early investors. If you're interested, reach out to us directly, or you can go through the online flow on our website. If you've got any questions, do jump in. Federico has a question. Fantastic. I'm going to... And Conrad, you do as well. Let me just open this up so as I can see this.
If you right click and put it on a different text editor, it should be
yeah, this normally.
there you go. At the bottom there.
Okay. So just wanted to make a plan to integrate a mobile compatible version. Yeah, so we will 100% be building this out to run on a native iOS and mobile app for people to access. That's a really critical piece because so much of the market is moving towards mobile. We want to be ahead of that trend. So it's a great question. Yes, we will be creating a mobile product for this.
Yes, one other thing too, if you guys have ever noticed the Indie Square, if you guys have ever seen that before, it's essentially a similar thing on the Bitcoin blockchain. We're going to have an open API just like they are as well for our super users. So basically just curl load balancer and or URL, and you can make a token. Yeah, and that's the whole thing as well. We want to build the user-friendly onboarding platform that is Rakugo, open our APIs and allow other people to build cool products on what we're building. That's where you can really scale is make that infrastructure and make it accessible. Federico, I'm going to unmute you, sir. You should be able to come through now, mate. Otherwise, you might have to type it. Yeah, I think Federico, you may be muted on your side. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, sorry for that. How's it going? So basically, if you have like, let's imagine, if you have like a poetry club, that gets together every weekend, and then you decide to publish own poems they make once a year, also to use the platform in a way to notarize it and kind of like safeguard the copyright, and then you say on the site publish it into physical content. The same at the same time while the digital content is being distributed to the network.
Yeah, that's a really good use case. I mean, I think that's a great example of where you've got multiple collaborators all with a stake in a project. And to keep complete transparency and record of that kind of process, yes, you would be able to come on, and you wouldn't be necessarily publishing it in terms of publishing it into a newspaper or a blog, but you're looking at wanting to manage that bit of digital content, and you can funnel your revenue stream there. So nobody has to like dole out dollar bills or pound notes or whatever to contributors. Everyone has their wallet, everyone knows what percentage they own in that stake, and when the payment comes through, it's dispersed automatically. So yeah, that's a very good use case.
Oh yeah, definitely. Sounds good. Well, that's what I had in mind then when you told me, said about a while ago about the guy going to Thailand, and you have the other guys, kind of like editors from the other places. Kind of remind me of something my poetry club does. It's like
exactly.
It's on the poems, and this way it would kind of like notarize them on a digital way, and safeguard with copyright, like have a record besides having the physical copy of it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, I think that's a really good use case, and at the minute that there's no solution for that, and in doing this, it's going to inherently bring more value. Like we view things like this as efficiency, and by producing this kind of mechanism, you're introducing efficiency into a market, and when you do that, that efficiency actually turns into financial gain, and that is for the people that are actually creating it. So you're getting more power, you're getting more attention and more revenue back for what you're creating. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, definitely does answer the question.
Perfect. All right, guys. Thank you so much for your questions. If anyone's got anything else, let us know. Otherwise, we'll sign off for the evening. And like I said, great to have you guys in the community. It's early stages in what we're doing. And, just very appreciative for you all turning up this evening and let us talk to you. This will be published probably tomorrow evening. We'll get this video out. Yeah, jump in, ask questions, and we really look forward to working with you guys.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, guys. Blow us up on the threads. Can't wait to hear from you some more.
Yep. It's great meeting everyone. See you soon.